When I moved to the small town of Dunbridge, it was to escape the clamor of city life. The quaint houses, large oak trees, and welcoming neighbors felt like a breath of fresh air. I had bought a little bungalow on Hawthorne Street, working remotely for a renowned publishing house. The first month was an idyllic blur of settling in, taking long walks, and occasionally dining out at the town's solitary cafe. Then came the first gift, a simple white rose left on my doorstep. No note, no clue about the sender. I'd assumed it was a friendly gesture from a neighbor. Over the next week, roses started appearing every day. Along with them came letters scribbled on crumpled paper. I admire your beauty from afar. Your hair dances like the golden rays of dawn. It was poetic but odd. My unease grew when roses started appearing not only at my doorstep, but also on my work desk at home. It meant someone was entering my house when I was out. I reported it to the local police. They promised increased patrols, but admitted that without any direct threats, their hands were tied. The letters became more intimate and possessive. One morning, I found a locket with a strand of my hair inside. The accompanying note read, "You and I are bound forever." I felt watched, stalked, trapped. Every creak in my house, every rustle outside made my heart race. Jenny, my colleague, suggested I stay with her. "Maybe your stalker will back off if he thinks you're not alone," she said. I agreed, needing the company and reassurance. One evening, after a particularly distressing day, we ordered food. The delivery guy was a tall man, his eyes hidden behind thick glasses. He seemed to linger a little too long, staring at me. I felt uneasy, but brushed it off. Weeks passed. The gifts and letters continued but became more spaced out. It seemed as if my unknown admirer had grown tired, or maybe the move to Jenny's had thrown him off. I decided to return home after a month. The first day was uneventful. As days passed, the paranoia returned. Every night, I double-checked my locks and windows, ensuring I was safe. One evening, after returning from the store, I found my living room light on. I was sure I turned it off. My heart thudded in my chest as I approached. The room was empty, but on the table lay a rose and a note. "I missed you." Panicking, I called the police. They searched the house, finding nothing. "Maybe you forgot to turn off the light," the officer suggested. They left, urging me to consider security cameras. The next day, I decided to install cameras inside and outside my home. That night, I reviewed the footage, hoping to catch a glimpse of the stalker. Hours of mundane recordings flashed by until my living room camera revealed something chilling. The delivery guy from that evening at Jenny's stood at my window peering in. He attempted to open it but failed. Then he looked directly into the camera, his cold eyes sending a shiver down my spine. The following morning, I showed the footage to the police. They identified him as Edward Hayes, a man previously suspected of stalking, but never prosecuted due to lack of evidence. They arrested Edward later that day. The subsequent search of his home revealed a shrine dedicated to me, with photos, some taken from afar, others from inside my house. I learned that Edward was infatuated with me after that one delivery to Jenny's. He thought we shared a bond. My house being close to the cafe, he saw me regularly, fueling his obsession. I was relieved but deeply shaken. The quiet town of Dunbridge was supposed to be my haven, not a place of terror. The experience changed me. I became more guarded, more wary. But I also grew stronger, learning that while horrors may lurk in unexpected places, I had the resilience and support to overcome them. I've always had a penchant for old structures, colonial houses, abandoned factories, rusted railroad tracks. Their histories whispered secrets to me that I felt compelled to unravel. So when I found a crumbling old mansion at the edge of the city selling for an inexplicable bargain, my heart raced with excitement. After signing the deed, I began my renovation plans immediately. The first time I saw the house, the setting sun painted it in golden hues, its grandeur hiding the decades of neglect. Large bay windows looked down with blinded eyes, their glass shattered or frosted over with grime. The surrounding trees, ancient and gnarled, framed the house like silent sentinels. Inside was a labyrinth of rooms, each holding remnants of bygone days, rotting furniture, dusty portraits, and the stale air of confinement. As the days turned into weeks, I grew familiar with every nook and cranny, carefully restoring what was salvageable. Every wall I tore down, every floorboard I pried up, I felt closer to the house, as if it was slowly revealing its stories to me. However, there was one door that resisted all my attempts. Located in the farthest corner of the ground floor, it was made of thick, dark oak with a rusty, heavy padlock securing it. Curiosity gnawed at me. What secrets did this room hold? Why was it locked away? One evening, after a particularly tiring day of renovations, I sat down with a glass of wine, pondering that very door. Just as I was about to drift off to sleep, a thud echoed through the hallway. Startled, I sat upright, listening intently. Another thud, then the unmistakable sound of footsteps, growing fainter, heading towards the locked door. Fear and paranoia seized me. I wasn't alone in the house. I tiptoed to the front door, considering making a run for it, but something held me back. A need to know, a need to confront. Armed with a crowbar, I followed the sounds. To my shock, the padlock lay broken on the floor, and the door stood slightly ajar. Heart pounding, I pushed it open. What lay behind wasn't a room, but a set of old, creaky wooden stairs leading down into pitch darkness. The basement? How did I miss this during my initial exploration? Curiosity, again, overpowered my fear. I descended, guided only by the weak light of my cell phone. The basement was expansive, with arched stone ceilings and cobblestone floors. At the center, an ornate wooden table surrounded by chairs. On it lay old newspapers, dusty and yellowed with age, but the dates and headlines were shockingly recent. They spoke of disappearances in the city, the last one dated only a month ago. I gasped, feeling a cold breeze pass me. In the corner of the room, shackled to the wall, was a man, gaunt, dirty, with wild eyes that bored into mine. He whispered hoarsely, "You're not one of them, are you? Please help me." The implications crashed upon me. The locked door, the fresh newspapers, this man. Someone was using my house. But for what? Suddenly, footsteps echoed above, multiple pairs, growing louder. Panic surged through me. They were coming back. I fumbled with the man's shackles, finally freeing him. Together, we bolted up the stairs, barricading the door behind us. We fled the house, hiding in the nearby woods. The lights of multiple vehicles approached the mansion, their occupants carrying torches. It was some kind of syndicate, a group that had been using the mansion's hidden basement for their nefarious activities long before I arrived. Hours seemed like minutes, and the night wore on, each moment a stretch of terror. But as dawn approached, we heard sirens. The neighbors, alarmed by the unusual activity, had called the police. The syndicate was arrested, their reign of horror finally at an end. The man, Luke, had been their most recent captive. An investigative journalist, he'd gotten too close to the truth and was taken. There was a long pause. We could hear our collective hearts beating rapidly. Paranoia set in. Was he truly lost, or was there something more sinister at play? Mia, the most pragmatic of us, asked, "How did you find this place?" He hesitated, then replied, "I was hiking. Got lost. Saw the lights." Something about his response didn't sit right. It was too vague, too rehearsed. The conversation was cut short when we heard a rustling behind him. To our horror, more figures emerged from the woods, all with the same hooded appearance. Fear gripped me. We were outnumbered. Peter, thinking quickly, grabbed a log from the fireplace, its flames licking the air. "Stay back," he shouted. The hooded man looked at his companions, then back at us. His gaze softened. "We didn't mean to frighten you. We're hikers. We got caught in an unexpected storm, lost our way. We saw the light from your cabin." Relief washed over me. The situation seemed less threatening now. After a quick discussion, we decided to let them stay in the barn a little distance away from the cabin. As dawn approached, I woke up to the sound of footsteps outside. I peered out of the window. The barn was empty, and the hikers were gone. Curiosity got the best of me, and I went to inspect the barn. What I found inside wasn't sinister but puzzling. Spread across the floor were a multitude of wildflowers arranged in beautiful, intricate patterns. In the middle, there was an aged leather journal. The journal was a memoir of a man named Jonathan who had lived during the early 1900s. He had built the very cabin we were staying in as a tribute to his late wife, Ilara. The entries spoke of his profound love for her and how he built the cabin as a place for them to cherish their memories. Ilara loved wildflowers, and he would often create patterns with them to make her smile. The last entry was dated 2 days before our visit. It read, "To whoever finds this, we are the descendants of Jonathan. We return every year to pay tribute to our great-grandmother Ilara. The patterns are for her. We meant no harm and only wanted to honor the love story that unfolded in this very cabin. We apologize if we scared you, but some traditions are too precious to give up." The realization that we had been part of a century-old ritual was both eerie and beautiful. We left the cabin later that day, leaving the wildflower patterns undisturbed, a silent acknowledgement of Jonathan and Ilara's timeless love. The cabin was a masterpiece of solitude. Nestled deep within the dense pine forest, it was a world away from the bustling streets of our college town, the perfect retreat for my friends and I, a place where we could forget about exams, deadlines, and responsibilities. As I looked out from the front porch, the setting sun cast long shadows over the undulating landscape. The vibrant hues of twilight painted the sky, juxtaposing against the dark silhouette of the trees. It was our first evening there, and the serenity of it all was almost intoxicating. Inside, Sarah was preparing dinner while Peter and Mia were entangled in a fierce battle of card games. Laughter echoed through the walls, creating a warm, homely feeling. Night had fallen by the time we sat down for dinner. The cabin was illuminated by soft candlelight and the flickering flames from the fireplace. With our bellies full and spirits high, we settled into the living room for some light-hearted conversation. That's when it happened, a soft, hesitant knock on the cabin door. We looked at each other, a hint of confusion evident in our eyes. "Who could that be?" Sarah whispered. There was no reason anyone should be here. We were miles away from civilization, and I hadn't told anyone about this place apart from the group. I rose from my chair, caution pushing my feet towards the door. Every footstep felt heavier than the last, with anticipation building inside of me. The wooden floorboards creaked under my weight, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. I peered through the peephole, but all I could see was darkness. "Who is it?" I asked, trying to hide the tremble in my voice. There was no response. I considered opening the door, but a heavy hand rested on my shoulder. "Let's just ignore it. Might be some wild animal or the wind," Peter whispered. His brave facade couldn't hide the unease in his eyes. But the knock came again, louder this time. More persistent. There was a sense of urgency, a desperate need. I reached for the doorknob, but Maya stopped me. "Let's look through the window first," she said. We moved to the window, peeling the curtain back just a fraction. To our horror, a man stood at our doorstep, his face hidden by a hood. He looked lost, his clothes tattered and torn. He didn't knock again, but we could see he was muttering something to himself, a constant eerie chant that we couldn't quite decipher. Sarah, ever the kind-hearted one among us, suggested we at least ask if he needed help. He could be lost or hurt, she reasoned. Against my better judgment, I opened the door just a crack. "Can we help you?" I asked. The man looked up, revealing deep-set eyes that carried tales of sorrow. "I'm lost," he whispered. "I need shelter for the night. I promise I'll leave by dawn."